Okay, so using your red and blue first. All right, we're going to label the House of Representatives in this first big bubble. All right, you're just going to put a big asterisk here in red. All right. All right, with blue, again, same thing. All right, once you've done that, you can just put the red and blue down. All right. So we know this is the House of Representatives side. We know this is the Senate side. All right. In this first box here, underneath House of Representatives, what goes in this first box? What's the first step in the lawmaking process? Introduce what? All right, yeah. Exactly. So you're gonna write introduce All right, so introduce bill in the House of Representatives. Remember, House of Representatives we shortened down to HOR. All right, so we're introducing the bill into the House of Representatives. All right, what's the second step? What do we do next? Okay, we're not to the voting part yet. What's the next step? What happens? Yeah, they got to go to a committee. You're right. All right, so they are referred to committees and subcommittees. All right, and this is what we call markup. All right, so they're referred to committees and subcommittees, and this is what we call the markup stage. Jerez, you writing this? We're here. All right. So, if you're looking at this in the book, it's not going to be the same. All right, because we're breaking this down differently. In the book, we'll see this in a minute. All right, the book does it differently. All right, so the book, all right, the book does the introduction the same, but then they have the middle section all jumbled up, and it's hard to understand what happens to the committee action because there's so many steps. All right, and so by doing it this way, we're breaking it up for you. All right, so after they're referred to committees and subcommittees, which is what we call the markup stage, this is where they're going to look at the bill, and they're going to literally mark it up. They're going to say, well, this doesn't go here, this needs to be moved here, something needs to be added here, etc. All right, what's the third step? Okay, we're not to the floor action yet. We're still dealing with that meat and bones section of the committee part.
Send it to the actual house and they can...
Kind of. All right. So this third stage is what we call hearings and studies. All right. This is the research phase. All right. So this is where we're taking the bill. We've gotten it written now, and we're conducting, if need be, hearings and studies. All right. You might have people come in and testify on certain parts of a bill. Or you may have to go out and hire some firms in D.C. or around the states to do research on them, especially if they're medical bills. All right, after this, what's the fourth stage? What's the fourth process? Okay, that's going to be down here. Remember, what's special about the House? No, what's special about the House? What does the House have that the Senate does not? It's a specific committee.
Rules Committee.
Yeah, Rules Committee. Good job. All right, so in the House, all right, you have to report favorably to the floor All right, so you have to report favorably to the floor by the Rules Committee. All right, and this is special to the House. Remember that the House is the only one with this Rules Committee. All right, and they're the ones who are going to set the agenda for the bill and how it's going to be debated, when it's going to be debated, where, and how long, and then when the vote's going to take place. All right, what's the final step? Debate and vote, exactly. So debate, and then vote. All right, so we have introduced the bill in the House of Representatives, referred to committees and subcommittees. This is our markup stage. All right, hearings and studies. This is our research stage. And then it's going to be report favorably to the floor by the Rules Committee, and then eventually debate and vote. All right, staying with the same pen that we have, or utensil that you've been using. Senate. What's the first step in the Senate? Introduce the bill in the Senate. This is the House. All right, so introduce the bill in the Senate. All right, so we've done that. What's step 2? What's step 2, guys? What? Yeah, refer to committee. So exactly the same thing right here. All right, so again, referred to committee, subcommittees, it's that markup phase. So it's exactly what we have over here. We've just put it here. All right, what's the third? Yeah, it's going to be the hearings and studies. It's going to be the research phase again. All right. What is our fourth stage? All right, voting will be down here. What's here? Okay, no, we're not there yet. All right, instead of report favorably to the floor by the Rules Committee, it just is report to floor by committee. All right, so over here we had report favorably to the floor by the Rules Committee. Here we just have report to the floor by committee. All right, and then our last one is just the same. Debate and vote. All right. What goes in this box? All right, yeah. So it's the conference committee. So what happens here is House and Senate form committee. Yep. All right, so that box that's right above where it says President, you're writing HOR/Senate Form Committee to Compromise on Bill. All right, and the last one's already filled in for y'all, and that's where it's sent to the White House and the President either vetoes or signs it. All right, so your chart should look just like this, filled in so far. All right, so we're going to start with our red marker or pencil or whatever. All right, so we're going to draw arrows. All right, so we're going to start here. The bill's going to be introduced in the House. All right, so We have our house, so it's introduced. So you're just going to draw an arrow down to the next piece here. Same thing. So after it leaves this, it goes to hearing studies. After hearing studies, report to the floor. After report to the floor, debate and vote. All right, so you should have 1, 2, 3. Should have 4 arrows so far going down. Shouldn't have anything after debate vote yet. All right, after it's debated and voted, it comes down, makes a hook. Got your arrow. You're going to draw some dots. All right, so once it's debated on and voted in the Senate, it leaves the Senate and it comes over here to the, or once it leaves the House, it comes to the Senate. All right, instead of being introduced in the Senate, because it's a bill that the House has already passed, it's not anything new, all right, it just simply goes straight to committee and subcommittee. All right, it does not have to be reintroduced. All right, so it leaves the House once it's voted on, and it goes to referred to the Senate's committee and subcommittees. All right, then that bill follows the exact same path down. All right, so this time it goes referred to committees, then hearings, then report to the floor, then debate and vote. All right, once it's debated and voted on in the Senate, it comes from here and it goes to the compromise. All right, so now it's here. We're done with it for now. All right, we're now going to swap to the blue side. All right, so once you've drawn the arrow to the compromise, you're done with the red for now. I'm going to use the blue side. All right, so the bill, all right, it's introduced in the Senate, so it starts here in the Senate. So it comes from introduced to referred, referred to hearings and studies to report to the floor to debate and vote. So 1, 2, 3, 4 steps so far. So 4 arrows. All right. Once it's debated and voted on in the Senate, it's going to come down. All right, so it's debated on, comes up, and here it is. It comes to the House, and it's referred to committees and subcommittees for markup. Again, it's not reintroduced because it's not a new bill. It's not something the House is coming up with. It's something the Senate came up with. All right, so it goes here. All right, then it follows the steps down. All right, so we've got 3 blue arrows coming down. All right, and then from debate and vote, it goes to the compromise.
Okay, but I got a question.
All right, what's your question?
Okay, what if the Senate denies it? Like, what do you think?
All right, so if it comes from the House and it gets down here to debate and vote, they debate on it and they decide to vote it down. All right, it's got 2 options. All right, option 1, it goes back to the House for the House to repass and make all the changes or whatnot. Or it could come to the compromise bill section and they could attempt to try to talk about it and see what it is. All right? And really the third option is for it just to die and for it not to become a law and just goes back and it's done for and the House doesn't try to repass it. All right? But let's say the bill has been passed by the Senate. All right? It's in the compromise phase. All right? We know that the House bill is going to have changes on it. The Senate bill is going to have changes on it. They're going to have to make those changes. All right? Always going to happen. All right. From here, it leaves, once it's in the compromise, once they're done with it, it leaves and it goes back to be re-voted on because they have to re-vote on the changes. So goes back, the new bill, all right, that's not specific to one house. It's just now Bill da-da-da-da-da, whatever the name is. It's no longer Senate Bill 114 and House Bill 393. It's now bill on immigration, all right, it'll go back to be voted on in the Senate, and it goes back to be voted on in the House. Once the House and the Senate have re-voted on it, it goes from there to the president. All right. The president can either sign it or veto it. All right, if he vetoes it, what happens? It goes back to Congress, and they can either let it go, or the House and the Senate can re-vote on that bill and override it with a 2/3 majority in the House and the Senate. All right, so to override a presidential veto while they're in session, has to be 2/3 in the House, 2/3 in the Senate. All right, if it's that pocket veto and they're going out of session, there's nothing they can do about it. All right, most recently, President Obama had a bill that he actually did veto. All right, it was 2 or 3 months before his term as president was up. All right, the bill dealt with whether or not family members from the victims of 9/11 attacks, whether or not they could sue a sovereign country, all right, because that country harbored and or gave money to aid in the planning of those attacks. And so he vetoed it. Well, Congress overrode the veto. It was like a 97-2 vote in the Senate and like 395 to 77 votes or something like that in the House. So overwhelmingly, the Republicans and the Democrats came together to override that bill. All right, and so that's just one example of an override, most recently. All right, so are there any questions on this? Everybody has this written down. Everything that's in black, everything that's in red and blue. No one has any missing holes or blanks. Good? All right. So looking at the difference here, all right, so we have our introductions are the same. The conference actions are the same, but we've spread them out, all right? So here to here is the conference action. From here to here is the conference action, all right? The debate and the vote is what the book would consider the floor action. We're just calling them something similar, but we're just breaking it down a little bit easier to understand. All right, the conference committee is the same. All right, but instead of having an extra box here, we're just taking them back up because they're going to have to re-vote on them regardless. All right, they get a final passage on it. And then it goes to the White House to be signed. All right? All right, so no questions to that, we're good.